We shall begin chapter 8 of physics class 11, gravitation. Let us try to understand the history of gravitation. Early in our lives, we become aware of the tendency of all material objects to be attracted towards the earth. Anything thrown up falls down towards the earth. Going uphill is lot more tiring than going downhill. Raindrops from the clouds above fall towards the earth, and there are many other such phenomena. Okay, so these are the phenomena we have experienced, that anything you throw up, it will come down. Right now, historically, it was the Italian physicist Galileo 1564 to 1642 recognized the fact that all bodies, irrespective of their masses, are accelerated towards the earth with a constant acceleration, and he also performed many experiments regarding this. The earliest recorded model for planetary motions proposed by Ptolemy about 2000 years ago was a geocentric model in which all celestial objects, stars, the sun and the planets all revolved around the earth. Now, the earliest model was proposed for the planetary motion was geocentric model. In this model, it was that the earth is at the center, and all the celestial objects like stars, sun and planets are revolving around the earth. And during those time, it was only thought of the circular motion. Okay, there was no another motion, only circular motion. So the celestial objects motion was circular. That was what it was in their thinking. Okay, 4 years later, heliocentric model was given, in which the sun was the center around which the planets revolved. Now, this was given about 2000 years ago, okay, where geocentric model, in which the earth was at the center and all the other celestial objects were revolving around it. But 400 years later, another model came up, that was heliocentric. In that, sun was at the center and all the planets revolved around it. And this was already mentioned by Aryabhatta 5th century AD in his treatise, and this model was also mentioned by Aryabhatta, he was Indian, in 5th century AD in his treatise. 1000 years later, a Polish monk named Nicholas Copernicus 1473 to 1543 proposed a definite model in which the planets moved in a circle around a fixed central sun. Now, 1000 years later, there was a Polish monk with the name Nicholas Copernicus. He proposed a definite model in which all the planets are in a circle around a fixed central sun. A nobleman called Tycho Brahe 1546 to 1601, hailing from Denmark, spent his entire lifetime recording observations of the planets with the naked eye. So there was another nobleman from Denmark named Tycho Brahe. He spent all of his lifetime observing and recording the planets. Okay, recording the observations of the planets. His compiled data were analyzed later by his assistant Johannes Kepler 1571 to 1640. He gave 3 elegant laws. Now, the data which was compiled by the Tycho Brahe, that was analyzed by his assistant Johannes Kepler, and using this data, he gave 3 very important laws, and they are known as Kepler's laws. Let us study them one by one. So the first law of Kepler is, number 1 is law of orbits. It is known as law of orbits, and the statement is all planets move in elliptical orbits with the sun situated at one of the foci of the ellipse. Now, in this law of orbit, Kepler said that the planets are not moving in a circle, but they are moving in an elliptical orbit, and the sun is situated at one of the foci. Now we have studied ellipse. Ellipse have got 2 focus. Okay, 2 focus. So one of the foci on one of the focus sun is situated. Okay, you can look in this figure. Here you can see that this is the shape or the orbit in which the planet moves. This is the elliptical orbit, or this you call it as a ellipse. This is the focus, this is the focus. Okay, this is S and S dash. So one of the focus sun is situated. So if sun is situated here, then this is at this focus it is situated. Okay, now this is the planet P. From P to A, this we call it as a major axis. The length of this is 2A, and B to C is called minor axis. Its length is 2B. Okay, and this is O, which is called the center. Midpoint of PA is center of ellipse. So this point O is the midpoint of PA, and we call it as the center of the ellipse. Same major axis, PO equal to OA equal to A. Now as I said, PA is the major axis. So P to O, E and O to A, they are equal and they are called semi-major axis, and this distance is A. Because total distance is 2A, then 2A to P to O and O to A will be the total distance, not total distance, the PO equal to OA equal to A. Semi-major axis, BO equal to OC is equal to B. As I said that this BC is a minor axis, and the length of this minor axis is 2B. So B to O and O to C is small b. The measurement or the length is small b. Now how to draw this ellipse? Okay, in your textbook they have given us a simple way of drawing the ellipse. You take 2 pins and fixed on a paper or on a cardboard. Suppose this is pin F1, this is pin F2. Now tie a string over here. Place a pencil over here, and you should tighten it and move it around. Okay, if you move around, put a pencil over here and move around. If you move around, then you will get an ellipse. Okay, you will get an ellipse, and it should be tight. Okay, it should not be loose. So this, when you draw, you will get a ellipse. So you can look at this figure. Okay, this is F1 and F2. They are the foci or the focus of the ellipse. Two focus. Okay, so F1 and F2. So here one pin is fixed, here one pin is fixed, and this is a thread. Okay, you are tying a string, and pencil is placed here, and you are keeping it tight. Okay, this distance should be tight. The thread should not be loosened, and you draw it with a tight string. Then you get the shape of the ellipse. Let us study the second law of Kepler. The second law of Kepler is known as a law of areas, and the statement is the line that joins any planet to the sun sweeps equal areas in equal interval of time. So if you have got, suppose you know that it is an elliptical orbit, right? This is the planet P and this is the sun. So the line joining the sun and the planet sweeps equal area in equal interval of time. Okay, that is your law of area, or you can say the second law of Kepler. Law of area is consequence of conservation of angular momentum, valid for any central force. Now the law of area is because of the conservation of angular momentum, and it is valid for any central force. Here also central force is there, which will be the gravitational force. Let the sun be at the origin, and the position and moment of the planet be r and vector p. So we shall try to prove this second law. In that, let us take sun as the origin, and the position, that is you consider as a vector r, and the moment of the planet as vector p. Okay, so we take the position of the planet as r and the moment of the planet as vector p. Then the area swept out by the planet of mass m moving with velocity v in time interval delta t is given as Pc. Now you look in this figure. Okay, you look in this figure. So here at suppose initially the planet is at point P. Okay, this is P and it is moving, right? It is moving with some velocity v. So the velocity is v, it is moving here. Okay, moving with the speed v. Now this planet after time delta t, it is moving and reaching here P dash, right? So now this area swept by the line SP, that is position I am taking as r. So this line distance is r. So this line is sweeping some area. When it is from P to P dash it is going, so this area is covered or swept by the line SP. So that means I want to find this. We consider this as a triangle SPP dash. Okay, this area will be taken as the area of the triangle SPP dash. Okay, we consider this is a straight line, right? In the small, and if this is very large and this one is small, then this will be almost perpendicular, almost the straight line. p to p dash. Okay, so I am taking that in a small interval, it is cutting the distance p to p dash, this linear distance. Okay, this is a linear distance, so p to p dash. Then you consider this as a triangle as p dash, and we know the area of the triangle is given as half delta A is the area of triangle, given as half into base into altitude. Okay, so half into base into altitude, so I'll take this as the perpendicular distance p dash, that is altitude, and this is the base as p. Okay, so we write here half base as sp into p dash. Now we know that the velocity is given as distance by time, right? You know this formula, velocity is given as distance by time. So velocity v equal to the distance, this velocity v, and the distance, linear distance which is it is covering is p to p dash, right? So p dash, and the time interval is delta t. Delta t transfer here, so you get p dash equal to v into delta t. Now come back to this, so we write here delta equal to half and sp. What is your sp? The position, that is r. So vector r cross p dash value is v delta t, vector v delta t. Now we know the linear momentum p is equal to mv. Okay, linear momentum we have studied, it is given as m into v. V is the velocity and m is the mass. So from here, what would the value of v? V equal to m you transfer here, so p divided by m. Now here delta A equal to 1 by 2 vector r cross vector v. I can write as a vector p by m into this delta t. This is scalar quantity, so you can just take out. And this delta t, if you transfer over here, it will go delta A by delta t. Okay, it will go in the denominator of delta A. So we'll get it here is delta A by delta t equal to here 1 by 2, and this m is a scalar, so you can take with this 2m. Okay, 1 by 2a. 2m. Here is r vector cross p vector, but we know this r cross p is nothing but the angular momentum vector L. So r cross p is vector L, and this 1 by 2a remains as it is. I have written here vector L equal to angular momentum equal to r cross p, vector r cross vector p. Okay, so this value is the vector L, which is your angular momentum. For a central force which is directed along r, L is constant as the planet goes around. Now here there is a central force. Okay, this is a central force F, that is a gravitational force. The force is along the radius, or along the distance this. Okay, along the radial. So it is along this. So F I have drawn towards this side, right? So what you say that here this F, the central force, is directed towards the radius r, and L is constant. Okay, this L is constant, and 2 is constant, mass is constant, mass of the planet is constant, so 1 by 2m, L, everything, this part is constant. So we can say that means delta A by delta t also is constant, because 1 by 2m is constant, L is constant, so delta A by delta t also is constant. So we can say that delta dA, this delta A by delta t in calculus we can write as a dA by dt equal to constant. So this value is constant. Why? Because this is a constant. That means this also is constant. This is the law of area. So that is the law of area. That change in the area is constant in an equal time. So that is what the area of the area of law. So that is the second law of Kepler. Here, as I said, that central force is gravitational force. Okay, gravitation is central force, and hence law of area follows, and it will follow the law of area. So that is the second law of Kepler, known as a law of area. Next we have got the third law, that is law of periods. The statement is the square of the time period of revolution of a planet is proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis of the ellipse traced out by the planet. See, now here time period means in a one revolution, the how much time it takes to a planet will take one revolution. So how much time it takes to complete one revolution, that we call it as a time period. Okay, so the square of the time period of revolution, so it is t square. We consider as a capital T square. This is a time period, so square of this is proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis. So cube of semi-major axis is a cube, and proportional, so t square proportional to a cube, right? A cube I have already given, a not a cube, a is the 2a is the major axis, but it is semi-major axis, so semi-major axis is taken as small a. Okay, so that is t square proportional to a cube. In your textbook they have given us the table 8.1, which is the data from measurement of planetary motion given below confirms Kepler's law of periods. Okay, so where a is the semi-major axis of in units of 10 power 10 meter, capital T is the time period of revolution of the planets in years, and Q is the quotient T square by AQ in units of 10 power minus 34 year square meter per meter cube. Okay, and this is the table given to you. Okay, so this is the given for all the planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Okay, this is the semi-major axis, this is the time period, and this is the ratio of these two, right? Q. Example 8.1. Let the speed of the planet at the perihelion P in figure 8.1a be Vp, and the sun planet distance SP be Rp. Relate Rp Vp to the corresponding quantities at the aphelion Ra Va. Will the planet take equal times to traverse BAC and CPB? I forgot to mention to you about the 2 points, the P and the A. Okay, so let us try to see that part. See here in this figure we can say that from this figure only you have to answer the example 8.1. Okay, here we see that an ellipse traced out by a planet around the sun. Okay, this is the planet is moving around the sun in an elliptical orbit. The closest point is P and the furthest point is A. Okay, this P, this is sun, right? So the P is the closest point and A is the furthest point, right? And the P, the point which is the closest, we call it as a perihelion. Okay, it is mentioned here, you can see here, it is a perihelion, and A is the aphelion, and the point A which is very far, the furthest point, we call it as a aphelion, or you can also pronounce it as a aphelion. Okay, so the closest point to the sun when the planet is orbiting in an elliptical orbit, then the closest point P is called as a perihelion, and the furthest point A is called aphelion. So this point P, this sun is here, so the point P is the closest to the sun. So this point, when this point we call it as a perihelion. Okay, and this point which is furthest we call it as the aphelion. Okay, so perihelion, aphelion, that's why this is A and this is P. Okay, so now we have to find the whether when it is, you can, if you join this B, S, C, A and B. Okay, if you join this part, then this area will be larger than the area C, P, B and S. If you join this area, okay, this part, so this part will be smaller than this part. Okay, now let us prove this, the relation between VP, VA, RA and RP. Okay, that is what they have asked us in the example. The magnitude of the angular momentum at P is LP equal to MP RP VP. Okay, so the angular momentum is given as LP equal to at the point P. Okay, the closest point MP RP VP. Since inspection tells us that RP perpendicular to VP. Now we know that the velocity and the radius are perpendicular. Okay, so RP is perpendicular to VP. Similarly, LA equal to MP RA VA. Now see, one more thing I want to mention here is, you know that the angular momentum L is given as R cross P, right? So here R cross P is there, that means when there is a cross product, that means if you remove the cross product, the magnitude will be RP sin theta, and theta is the angle between R and P. Okay, the angle between R and P is theta, and if it is a cross product, we write sin theta. Okay, so it will be RP sin theta, and what is P? P is MV. Okay, so see here what I have written is L equal to, actually using the same formula, R cross P, but magnitude is RP sin theta. Okay, and P value I am putting as MV, but no vector. Okay, without vector, only magnitude. So MRV. Okay, here let us see MRV. Suffix P is at the point P. Okay, so MRP, and there will be sin theta. What is theta? Theta is the angle between R and P. So here RP and VP are perpendicular. That means angle between them is 90 degree, and sin 90 is 1. Therefore, there is no more sin theta here written, right? Or no more cross product. So LP equal to MP RP VP. Why we can write? Because RP is perpendicular to VP. Therefore, sin theta is sin 90 is 1. So there is no need to write the angle. Okay, we can directly write LP equal to MP RP VP, and similarly at the furthest point A will be LA equal to MP RA VA. Okay, now by angular momentum conservation, we know that angular momentum is conserved, right? So that means these two angular momentums will be same, so LP equal to LA. So LP value is this one, MP RP VP equal to LA will be this one, MP RA VA. I have taken MP only, right? Mass will be the same, mass of the planet will not change, so mass will be the same. Therefore here written MP, not written MA. Okay, and MP you can cancel, so you get here RP VP equal to RA VA. Okay, transfer VA over here and RP over here, so you get here VP by VA equal to RA by RP. Since RA is greater than RP, VP greater than VA. Now see, now according to the second law of the Kepler, the line joining the planet and the sun sweeps the equal area in the equal interval of time. That means you can just look in this figure, you see that if it is so, that means it will be faster here, right? Then only it will cut the similar area, and when it is going further it should be slower. The velocity here should be slower and here should be faster. Here is faster, so it will cover more area, and here it is slower, so this area will be same as this, but for this it will move little slowly. Okay, it will move little slowly, and here it will move little faster, so that the area will be swept equally. Okay, equal area will be covered in a equal interval of time. That is the second law of the Kepler. So what we can say is, by Kepler's second law, equal areas are swept in equal time. Hence the planet will take a larger time to traverse BAC than CPB. Okay, BAC is this part, BAC starting from sun. Okay, this SBAC, so this area is larger than SCPB. Okay, and here as I said already that RA greater than RP, VP greater than VA. Okay, that is what I was telling, that this velocity will be faster than this. Why? Because this distance is smaller, this distance is larger. That is what here I have written here. Okay, so that is a solution for example 8.1. We'll keep this much for today. Thank you very much.